Hello, everybody. David Shuster here. Lawmakers and political analysts across the spectrum are now slamming Donald Trump's latest tantrum and calling him childish. The story involves Canada. During the Major League Baseball playoffs and World Series, the province of Ontario aired a television ad criticizing tariffs and featuring a 1987 radio address by U.S. President Ronald Reagan.
High tariffs inevitably lead to retaliation by foreign countries and the triggering of fierce trade wars. Then the worst happens. Markets shrink and collapse, businesses and industries shut down, and millions of people lose their jobs. America's jobs and growth are at stake.
Donald Trump went berserk. He slammed the ad and imposed an additional 10% tariff on Canadian goods. Yes, Trump raised tariff prices because of a television commercial Trump didn't like. Trump also made demands on a social media platform. Here's the reporting from MSNBC.
Trump said the ad, which first aired during the American League Championship Series last week, was a, quote, fraud and a hostile act. And he accused Ontario of misrepresenting Reagan's stance. However, as we've been taking pains to note, the audio used in the ad was authentic, and minor edits to Reagan's original 1987 address simply did not alter the substance of his remarks, which were highly critical of the consequences of tariffs. The speech was explaining his decision to impose duties on Japanese goods. Ontario Premier Doug Ford pledged in a social media post to pull the ad after the weekend, with it still airing in the United States during the first two World Series games, Friday and Saturday games that, of course, just happened to be played in Toronto. Trump suspended months-long trade talks with Canada, the U.S.'s second-largest trading partner, on Thursday night because of that ad.
That's right. Trump also canceled trade negotiations with Canada because of the ad, in addition to imposing the additional tariffs. Sounds immature and childish, right? Like a toddler who gets handed vegetables instead of ice cream and starts wailing. Well, Donald Trump's Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent tried to defend Trump's approach on NBC's Meet the Press. Watch that, and then you will hear political analyst Sam Stein and Will Saletan on the Bulwark podcast.
It's psyops. Why would the government of Ontario, I'm told that they have spent or were planning to spend up to $75 million on these ads to come across the U.S. border. So what was the purpose of that other than to sway public opinion? And, it's some kind of propaganda.
It's unreal. Like, honestly, when I saw that Trump had done it, I did a double take. Like, you literally are going to raise tariffs on an entire country because you saw an ad and you didn't like it? I mean, this is just the most childish crap. I cannot believe it happened. And yet I can believe it, actually.
All right, so Bessent's version of this, propaganda.
Yeah.
PSYOPs. Like, people don't know, PSYOPs means psychological operations. It's like a wartime thing. The evil enemy, the Japanese, the Germans, whatever, like they're doing PSYOPs on us. This is Canada.
But there is something about Canada, America's #1 trading partner, that has always gotten under Donald Trump's skin. There are allegations that Donald Trump went crazy a few years ago when his wife Melania seemed to delight in the company of former Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau and called Trudeau handsome. Trump has also said publicly that he thinks the Canadian trade negotiators have been jerks. Trump thinks somebody else he's dealing with is a jerk. I know, the projection is surreal. Anyway, Trump's meltdown over the Canadian ad comes at a crucial time and is poised to ruin Donald Trump's argument over tariffs in front of the U.S. Supreme Court. The justices are hearing a case over whether Donald Trump has the authority to impose these tariffs, given the Constitution says it's Congress that has the tariff authority. Trump and his team are arguing the reason he is imposing the tariffs is because of a national emergency. However, Trump just made it perfectly clear in response to the television commercial that Trump is imposing tariffs because his feelings keep getting hurt. Here's MSNBC's Joe Scarborough.
Good luck going even before this Supreme Court and arguing that these are based on emergencies. Everything is an emergency this term with Donald Trump. And, an emergency because of an ad that quotes Ronald Reagan accurately and his views on tariffs. That's an emergency? No, I don't think so. Not having China move along the way he wants on a geopolitical disagreement regarding a war in Russia, that's an economic emergency that requires 130%. No, not at all. I mean, the emergency argument has always been specious at best. Now it's just been laid bare, especially with what happened over the past couple days.
Even the conservative Wall Street Journal editorial page is bashing Trump over all of this. In an op-ed, the Journal wrote, Mr. Trump is wrong about the Reagan speech, and he was wrong when he said on social media that Ronald Reagan loved tariffs for purposes of national security and the economy. The Gipper was a free trader. The Journal added, Mr. Trump has been fortunate that his tariffs haven't triggered much retaliation, which has spared us from a global trade war, but the tariffs are doing economic damage by raising costs for consumers and businesses. And never mind the economic cost, Donald Trump's particular squabble with Canada is putting Trump on the wrong side of the American people. As CNN reports, Americans like Canada much more than they like Donald Trump.
Canada is far more popular than Donald Trump is here in the United States. Look at this. The net popularity rating of Canada is plus 49 percentage points. Look at the net popularity rating of Donald Trump here in the United States. It's minus 10. We're talking about Canada coming out nearly 60 points ahead on the net popularity rating versus Donald Trump here in the United States. When you pick on Canada as a United States president, you are picking on a country that the American people adore. They adore Canada. Canada has always been a friend to the United States, at least during our lifetimes. And when you're going after Canada, you are going against someone who is far more popular than you are with Donald Trump.
But life in America and around the globe is a bit different, of course, thanks to Donald Trump. And Trump has proven yet again that he is thin-skinned, obsessed with things on television, sensitive to getting needled by Canada, and has no long-term strategy or approach. Everything is about Trump's immediate feelings, as the Supreme Court has just been shown. In other words, look for Donald Trump to lose this tariff argument at the Supreme Court. Canada set the bait, Trump couldn't resist and walked right into it, and now, in front of the Supreme Court, Donald Trump is trapped. Hey, Canada, well played. By the way, a UFC star just turned against Donald Trump and is calling Trump the Antichrist.
Yeah, I do think that Donald Trump is that beast of Revelation 13:3. Yeah, go read it. Go read it.
That is Ultimate Fighting Championship star Bryce Mitchell calling Donald Trump the Antichrist.
If you're a Christian, I want you to get into Revelation 13:3, and I want you to read that verse. Yeah, about the Antichrist, about the one who was fatally wounded in the head. Then he was miraculously healed, and the whole world marveled at him and said, no man can make war with him.
13:3 says, and I saw one of his heads as it were wounded to death, and his deadly wound was healed, and all the world wondered after the beast.
Yeah, I do think that Donald Trump is that beast of Revelation 13:3.
Check out that video at the link below. I'm David Shuster. Thanks for joining us.